What's going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank. Today I want to talk about Cameron and Charleston White and all these TV Negroes that come on the internet and perceivably represent African Americans in our sentiment. These type of dudes, when they dip their toes in topics that they know nothing about, they make African Americans look bad. They don't represent us, and it's up to people like myself who, even though I don't have the same clout, the same following, I don't have the same amount of money or influence as these guys, it's up to people like myself to come out and let the diaspora know that these people do not represent African Americans. Because here's the thing, in the age of information, Africans are, if you guys are not aware, they have truly been on the internet absorbing all of the information and all of the knowledge that us African Americans had access to for the longest time, right? They're starting to see some of the videos that some of our revolutionary leaders have been that's been made of our revolutionary leaders in their struggles and African American struggle and what's going on in the world. Like, they're catching up, right? But as they're catching up, they're running into these internet personalities who, African Americans, for some reason, we prop these Negroes up as if they are some sort of authority in the black community. Why? Because they entertain us. First of all, Cameron, you're talking about Mr. Tutti Frutti Booty Doody Scooty Hootie Moody, right? Who was a part of a group called Dipset that never quite really hit the mark. All right, you're talking, this guy's supposed to represent, he comes out of his mouth as a grown-ass man who supposedly is supposed to be worldly, who's supposedly supposed to be intelligent. The dude could tell you the stats of any football team, basketball team, college football team. He can tell you the roster, how much they get paid. His knowledge base can tell you about all that. He can tell you about raps, he can tell you about lyrics, but when it comes to the relationship between Africans and continental Africans and African diaspora, he's a complete and total idiot. Nothing that he says should be taken seriously. But because he's a notable figure, because he was famous at one point and he's back to being famous now, people in Africa are looking at this guy who some of them used to listen to Mr. Tutti Frutti Scooty Booty Doody Doody Hootie, right? And he hurt their feelings like Africans don't fuck with. What kind of grown man who have access to money, wealth, people in high places and information could still come out their mouth and say Africans don't fuck with African Americans? Like, it goes to show you, rich people are still just as dumb as everybody else who are dumb. Just because they're rich and they got a show and they're popular, and don't mean that they're intelligent. It don't mean that they have a wealth of knowledge. Charleston fucking White, first of all, let me tell you what Charleston White is a fucking joke. Nothing Charleston White says is profound. People have been saying the same shit that Charleston White has been saying for years, right? Charleston White is a walking fucking contradiction. And Mr. fucking I'm so intelligent, right? Mr. I'm a community organizer, meaning he understands, if he so-called was a community organizer, he understands that there are institutions, right, that cause poverty within communities, right? A person who's a community organizer should be somewhat worldly and understand how things happen. What kind of dumbass so-called community organizer, right, comes on, right, who supposedly hates all the degenerate shit in the African American community and actively attacks it, which I support that part, but then he turns around and acts like, and he is exactly the same thing that he hates, right? While pretending like he hates it, but he emulates that very same thing. He's a fucking hypocrite and a fucking buffoon. And for him to come out and say that Africans don't fuck with African Americans, or that we don't like African Americans, with his whole fucking chest out. These ignoramuses that we prop up in the black community, just because they got money and influence, because they funny, because they got shock value, because we know them when they used to be famous, because they was famous at one point and they done came down to become C and D level celebrities on social media, and because they got more goddamn clout than the average individual coming on social media, they get all the props. So that means when they say something, their word is fucking God. Get the fuck out of here. Cameron's a fucking idiot, right, when it comes to this type of shit, and Charleston White's a fucking idiot. Charleston White is the crackhead, broke, one-eyed version of Cat Williams, right? But he's just not as funny. That's what he is, right? That's what he's a crack. If you take Cat Williams, give him a bunch of cocaine, crack, fentanyl, pop one of his fucking eyes out, throw his ass in jail, and violate him a couple times, then you got yourself a goddamn Charleston White. He's trash, and he should never be seen as any type of leader or authority of any type of thought in the black community. Because many upstanding men has been saying the same shit that Charleston White has been saying, but they don't get any goddamn attention because they're not entertaining the simple-minded Negro. They're not entertaining this simple-minded European who loves to eat up this type of entertainment, right? So all I'm saying is, for the African diasporas that's listening to me, I want to say a few things, because you guys seem to think that some of these people on YouTube and social media represents African Americans as a whole, and you think that what you hear them say is how we all feel. First of all, I'm gonna clear up a couple things right now for you African diasporas, so you can know definitively that this is the truth. All right. First, let's cover this word, Black American. No, listen, I can go find me any random black person out here, right? And I ask them, what do you call yourself? They're gonna say one of two things. They're gonna say African American or black. No self-respecting black man ever calls himself Black American, because every African American understands we ain't never been American. They remind us every fucking time that we not American. The only time we get to be American is when we playing for America, when we winning trophies for America, when we winning wars for America, when we winning awards for America. That's when we're American. When we're inventing shit and benefiting America. At that moment, so that America can take credit for the shit that we do, we get to be American. But the very next fucking day, we ain't American no more, and they will remind our ass that. The same way in France, how all them goddamn Africans are French when they out there winning all them championships. All them Africans are fucking English when they out there winning all them goddamn championships. All them Africans are Italian when they out there winning all them goddamn world championships. But as soon as the game is over, they remind them in the stadium right afterwards, they ain't nothing but a bunch of monkey-eating niggas. And these are supposed to be the same fans that's cheering on these so-called patriotic, nationalistic rhetoric towards Africans. Remember, we're only a part of these European institutions when we're benefiting them on the world stage. But after that, we back to being niggas. That's why all the famous actors, all the famous comedians, all the famous singers back in the day that would get on stage and perform for hundreds, tens of thousands of white people, get standing ovations, go in the back and gotta leave out the back of the fucking building. Get the fuck out of here. Don't tell me we American. Get the fuck out of here. You American is the same thing white people like to use whenever they see black people, their biggest commodity, start to reconnect with Africa, their biggest fucking fear. That's the only time. They're like, oh, you're American. No, you should be American. We're one. Yeah, as soon as they leave, and then they remind us we ain't shit, right? So fuck all that shit. So for all my African diasporas, understand, nobody in the real world calls themselves a Black American. Nobody is black. And for the record, black means African. So if you're saying you black, you're saying you African. Let me say it again. If you're saying you black, you're saying you African. Let me say it one more time. If you're saying you black, you're saying you African. That's it. There's no Black American. The Black American phrase is used to detach Africa from the Black American. So all the most of the xenophobic African Americans and trolls who like to troll people on the internet, because you got those, they'll say Black American, right? Trying to distinguish themselves from African. But here's the thing. For you diasporas listening, African Americans have always been on the forefront of Pan-Africanism. African Americans have always been proud to be Africans. African Americans are proud to be Africans. Any African American I find, they're gonna be proud to be African. They may not know a lot about Africa. They might not know where they come from. They may not done their DNA, but they will call themselves African American with pride. African in origin, American in nationality, because guess what? We still American because we built this fucking country. We financed this fucking country, and this country wouldn't be shit without African Americans. This country would be boring as shit without our contributions. This country would not be advanced without our technological freaking contributions to this country and to the fucking world. As a matter of fact, we would have as many humans on the fucking planet if we didn't invent the refrigeration that allows us to go and live any fucking where and take our food with us. So none of us are shunning the word African American. None of us are ashamed to be called African American. We either black, and it's just that one word, black, which means African, or African American. Now we need to evolve and just say Africans who live in America. That's all we really are. Africans who live in America, period. We are Africans who live in America. Africans who live in America. That's the thing. So I just cleared that up for you. So anytime you hear Black American, understand that whoever's calling themselves Black Americans are part of the xenophobic group that every African tribe, every African nation has their own xenophobic group. They got their own little names. They always fight the greater group. That's who they are. They should be relegated to those people, period. They do not represent all of us. They do not represent the majority of us. They barely even represent a minority of us. They represent a minuscule, microscopic amount of us that don't matter in the grand scheme of things. That is it. They're just very loud, very boisterous, and ignorant. And they say they're ignorant with their chest. That's them. All right? What else I want to cover? Yeah, Charleston White, don't fucking listen to that idiot. He's a fucking idiot. He don't represent us. Cameron, don't listen to that fucking idiot. He don't represent us. All right? What continental Africans need to do, right? They need to start looking at smaller creators, right? People who don't have influence because of hip hop. First of all, Cameron is famous for, he's barely famous for making shitty ass raps promoting the destruction of our community. That's what he's famous for. Being trash and wearing purple fucking suits and shit. And pink. That's his fucking thing. He don't that dude has no authority to say nothing. You know, I'm glad he got his show and he's making his own money, but he's a fucking idiot when it comes to shit like this. And it's no excuse for him to be a fucking idiot. But I'm finding out there's a lot of fucking idiots out here who like to talk a lot. It's just what it is. So I cleared that up. So my continental Africans, do not look at these individuals that you see on TV, that you see on social media as they represent us. They don't. They're fucking clowns. They're the entertainment. They're the thing they're the thing that you pay attention to in your pastime in between serious things. That's what they are. And that's all they are. They should never be taken seriously. What else? What else I got? I knew there was probably a few more things I wanted to cover, but I had to cover that one the most because it pisses me off when I see these ignorant people who have the opportunity to be intelligent to know more. They choose not to be intelligent and to know more because they rather entertain themselves with mindless shit, and they say shit out their mouth that have consequences, and they're so irresponsible they don't understand their words have consequences. Words flow. You can't just delete the shit. Once you say it, it's fucking out there. You understand? And speaking of that, once it's there, it's out there. We got a lot of Black people out here who they forget that once you say it, it's out there. And when I say in a couple years, hindsight is gonna be real 2020, and we're gonna look back on this era, and see all these Coonarians that thought that they was on the right side of history. We're gonna see all these Coonarians who thought that they had it right and that everybody else had it wrong. We're gonna see all these Coonarians and all these contrarians, right? All of them will be exposed once that hindsight hits 2020. And guess what? Ain't no deleting your videos because people done already copied and recorded them shits. Your ignorance will be immortalized for the rest of your life and beyond your life, right? So what you say on the internet is important. What comes out your mouth, because you can't delete it, right? So when you contradict yourself a couple years later, guess what? Somebody's gonna pull that shit up and say, remember when you said that shit? Remember that? They'll be able to put together college collages of the ignorance that came out your mouth, and you'll be no defense for it because you said it, because it's right there on the internet. So yeah, guys, this is the age of information. You got to understand, in the age of information, we're gonna have new problems, new versions of propaganda, right? Because just like when we went from regular phones to smartphones, right? You had your regular phone had regular issues, right? Then you got your smartphone. Now your smartphone got smartphone issues, right? It's the same shit. This is a different era, right? So all the evildoers, bad actors, and ignoramuses and contrarians are gonna utilize new tactics to try to push their warped mental agendas on us, all right? But we African Americans, right? We Africans that live in America, us Africans on the continent, us Africans in the diaspora and the islands need to understand and be able to recognize when we see idiots and ignoramuses trying to represent us as a group. And we have to push back at that as hard and give it as much energy as they gave when they said all that ignorant shit with their chests. All right? So keep that in mind. We have to, us people with common sense, us people who have a little intelligence and knows what they talking about, us people who maybe not be as famous, but we're more worldly and more intelligent than these ignoramuses that are famous, we got to be loud just like them. We can't just be quiet in our books. We can't just be quiet and shake our heads and be like, tis, tis, tis. No, we got to come with that same energy. We got to come with that same shit, because 9 times out of 10, if you come with the intellect and the energy, they can't compete. Because all they got is the energy, they ain't got the intellect. So once you challenge them, that's it. All right? So I just wanted to cover that. I'm pretty sure it's the most shit that I wanted to say. But y'all know I don't write none of my shit. Everything I say is off the top of my head. It's natural and it's real. All right? So tell me what you guys think about that in the comment section. This is Afro Think Tank. Learn some, teach some. I'm out.